Cody, why don't you kick it off? AFC East, who is the fourth place team in the AFC East and why?
So the fourth place team I have in the AFC East, if you're in the Boston and New England area, you're not going to like this, but I have the New England Patriots finishing in fourth place at 5-12. They don't even have a offensive coordinator that they could name without sounding very coy or very shady-like, which is kind of ironic to say about Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. But, their defense is very good. Their offense, I think, has taken a step back. Obviously, you have Mac Jones. There's rumors that they're looking to shop Damian Harris, who had, I thought, a breakout season last year, and they're already looking to shop him, which is kind of surprising. You lose a coordinator, like, in my opinion, like a Josh McDaniels, and I think, you're not going to improve, to say the least. You're probably hoping to just maintain, but I think bringing in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to kind of be offensive consultants, not the greatest of moves. So I think Bill Belichick is just basically trying to get a high draft pick before he bounces, and I see the New England Patriots being a 5-12 team.
Okay, well, I disagree with that, but man, oh man, that kind of shocked me. I'm sorry, I'm a little taken back by it, but I'm going to go with the safe bet. I'm going to go with the New York Jets at number 4. Okay. I have them at 3-14.
Wow,
listen, I actually
14?
Yes, I do. I don't think they're all that bad, but especially with Zach Wilson, we don't know what his injury is going to be, like I said. And then I also really don't. I'm not too keen on this defense as much as everyone's talking about it. Like, I don't know. I think their defensive line is okay. I think their linebacking core is okay. They get injured quite a bit. Their secondary is kind of sus. And then their offensive line is not good. Their running back situation again is, I don't know. I don't really like the running backs. They lost Jamison Crowder. Yes, they got Garrett Wilson in the draft, who I really do like, but honestly, I think this Jets team with Robert Saleh as the head coach, I think he's way over his head in head coaching. I just don't think he really understood what it entailed. And so, I just am a little worried about the Jets overall being staying close-knit as a team. And like I said, especially with the Zach Wilson thing, it's going to be a little worry. But I do think they have kind of a rough schedule. I mean, say what you will about the AFC East, I do think it is fairly tough. I don't think New England is going to be that bad, but I do think that they're going to be able to at least hold their own. I mean, at least knowing Bill Belichick and his teams, they're going to have a solid defense. I really like the Dolphins. I think they're going to be really good. And then you have Buffalo Bills, who, are a lot of people's favorites to get into the Super Bowl. So they face all those teams twice. So that's already half of your season, basically. But they face teams like, Green Bay. You really like Detroit. I think Detroit is going to be a tough one. Minnesota, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore. Those are some tough teams. And then they do see like Denver and Seattle, so we'll see how those go. But I'm just not really sure about the Jets, and I think with Robert Saleh, like I said, I just think he's way over his head in the head coaching situation. So Jets are my number 4 team. So Cody, who is your number 3 team and why?
So my number 3 team is the New York Jets. I actually have them finishing at a 7-10 record. I actually think that if Zach Wilson isn't seriously injured to the point of missing the entire season, so this is contingent on assuming Zach Wilson is healthy. So this is a big if. But if Zach Wilson is healthy, I think that this team could potentially get to 7-10. I don't think they're getting in the playoffs. I don't think they'll get to 500. I do think that Robert Saleh is basically coaching for the last season, unless they make the playoffs. This is probably it. But, I do think that Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, they've got some pretty good young pieces in there. They did have to sign Dwayne Brown because they did lost. I think his name is Belchnik. I can't remember. I can't pronounce his name clearly. So
Mekhi Becton.
Becton. There it is. Excuse me, guys.
Oh
Anyways,
Belch. Where did Belch come from?
Sorry. Oh my gosh. Anyways, guys.
Holy God.
Anyways, so obviously the offensive line is going to be under construction for a while. And I do think, though, that this Jets team is going to surprise some people. Do I think they're a playoff team? Not yet. But, it is going to be contingent on Zach Wilson not being hurt. And also, too, I had to give them a pretty good record considering Zach Wilson's offseason. He had an elite offseason. So I have to reward it somehow.
Yeah, I'm not very high on Zach Wilson. I know we still haven't seen everything, and I know the offseason, he's a player, whatever. But I actually think that's a downgrade, in my opinion. You couldn't get girls your age. You had to go a little bit older. I don't know. It's a little weird for me. But anyway, I just, talking about football-wise, I'm not really sold on Zach Wilson. So that's why I have them so low as well. Even if he is healthy, that's why I have him at. So for my number 3 team is going to be the New England Patriots. I'm a lot higher on them. Whether or not you think Bill Belichick is just completely trying to tank, which all signs are starting to point to yes. I do feel, however, the Patriots were a playoff team. Now, are they the same team that they were last year? No. I think they are going to take a step back. But last year they went 10-7. In my opinion, this year they're going to go 8-9. And the reason I think is because New England always puts out a good defense. Whether it's these high names or these no names, they still always have a solid defense. And his son has actually kind of proven that he can kind of take the reins when it comes to the defensive coordinating position. Now, the offense, yes, that is a little worrisome that we have 2 defensive coordinators, one defensive coordinator and special teams guy calling offensive plays. I understand, they scheme and he's trying to be the first person to whatever, blah, blah, blah. We all know it's not going to work. Maybe I bet you I would like to bet a lot of money on the first game of the New England Patriots. They're going to come out firing on all cylinders and everyone's going to be like, it worked. The offensive coordinators who were former defensive coordinators are great at this. Are we kidding? Mac Jones is going to be MVP, and then week 2 it's going to be a complete flop. So I would bet a lot of money on those, in my opinion. But anyway, not saying anyone should, just saying me personally, that's what I would do, and I would have to live with consequences. But anyway, the New England Patriots, I do think they have somewhat of a favorable schedule. I'm not very high on Minnesota. A lot of people are high on Minnesota, so we'll see about that. I think that is kind of a coin flip in my opinion, because I do feel like every time Kirk Cousins faces New England just completely figures out Kirk Cousins, which not always hard to do, but usually shuts him down and he struggles against New England all the time. So, Pittsburgh, I'm not very high on them this year. Cleveland, I think is, it's starting to look like it's not going to be a Deshaun Watson type of year. Thank God. Yeah. But, they face teams like the Colts, obviously Buffalo twice, the Raiders, the Cardinals. So I do think they're going to run into a few buzzsaws here and there. And they're going to lose a lot more games than I think they're going to win, obviously, with an 8-9 record. But I do think the Patriots are not going to be as abysmal as everyone is saying. I do still trust Bill Belichick in some sense, but I don't think I don't think they're going to be a playoff team.
Okay.
All right, Cody, who's your number 2 team and why?
Number 2 team for me, I think, is a pretty obvious choice. It's the Miami Dolphins. I have them finishing with a 10-7 record. I think that this team will be pretty good offensively, and JCJ, shout out to you. He's been commenting on our live stream the whole time. He says that he thinks that they're going to be really good as well. And I agree. I don't think that they are going to be, on the same level as, let's say, like the Chiefs or the Bills or anything like that. I think that they still got a lot of growing pains to go through. I think a huge obstacle they have to go through is Tua as a quarterback. I mean, he shows flashes, but then there's been times where he's also shown some signs of being a little impatient. He doesn't really go through his progressions very well. He's also injury prone. He's a little smaller. So, those are just some concerns. And he's also learning a new offensive system. And, hopefully this is better for him. They do have, burners on the outside with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So hopefully, this offense is probably going to carry the defense more or less, and they're going to get into a lot of shootouts. But I just think that this team, with their inexperience, is probably also going to lose some games that they probably shouldn't lose. But I think that's just how it's going to go for this season for them. But I do have them finishing 10-7. I have them looking on the outside in terms of the playoffs, though they're not one of my wild card teams. But I think Miami is going to surprise a lot of people. But I think that they're going to also have a successful season in terms of wins to losses. But I don't see them as a Super Bowl contender, nor do I see them as a playoff team just yet.
I also have the Miami Dolphins at number 2. I actually have them at 12-5. I really like the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, sounds like
First of all, I'm not as high on Tua as I was when he was coming out of the draft. I will admit that, but I do still think he's a accurate quarterback. And what I've noticed in the NFL is if you're an accurate quarterback, you're going to be given a lot of chances. Not only that, but you could actually potentially really do something good in the NFL. And for me, I think Tua is still an accurate quarterback. I don't love the offensive line that much. I do think they, have a lot of room for improvement. But you got a receiver in Jalen Waddle. You have Tyreek Hill. They picked up Cedric Wilson. Mohamed Sanu, who's on their team, which I still think he's going to see some playing time. So some really good receivers just right off the bat. They picked up Alec Ingold, who is a former Raider, who I think was very underrated in what he did for the Raiders for the years that he was there. Ingold is a good blocking fullback. So he is a guy who is going to pave way for really good running backs, Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. Now, both guys who have had injury history, but then you have guys like Myles Gaskin behind them and Sony Michel. This is a really good running back core that I don't think is being talked about enough. We're talking about the Tyreek Hill and Tua connection. We're talking about, Jalen Waddle and Tua, as we should. But I think that running back core, that really surprised me looking at all that. That is dangerous. All 4 of those guys are guys who not only can run the football well, but who can catch the ball out of the backfield very well as well. As I keep saying that. Mm-hmm. So I really, really like that offense. But not only that, Xavier Howard is a phenomenal corner. He needs to be talked about way more. And then I actually really like their defensive line. Christian Wilkins is, but Emmanuel Ogbah, I really like. I think he's very underrated. And they have a decent linebacking core, pretty young guys though. But I like their Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, and then Xavier Howard as the corner. I mean, a really solid secondary. This defense is not a defense that I would sleep on. So for me, I really like the Miami Dolphins. And again, I think they're going to kind of benefit a lot from first being in the AFC East. Only, seeing New England Patriots and the New York Jets, I think is going to be more in favor of the Dolphins. But I do think that the Dolphins will lose one to New England just because it seems like that's what happens every year. But, they face teams like Detroit, even though I do think Detroit is be solid. At the same time, I do think Miami is that much better. I think they'll beat Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota, Cincinnati. That one can go up in the air. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Houston, and then they face like San Francisco. That one could be a toss-up as well. But for me, I really like this Miami Dolphins team a lot, and I just think they're not only is their schedule kind of favorable for them for the team that they have, but I do also believe that they are that good.
So run me by that record one more time.
12-5.
12-5. Okay, pretty high. I was surprised that you went there, but you know what? I could see it too. I mean, they're going to probably surprise a lot of people, as I mentioned. I think I'm a little more conservative on them just because of the pieces in on Tua. But if they can overcome a lot of the adversity, then yeah, they could very easily be a team to be reckoned with in the East. My number one team, obviously, is going to be the Buffalo Bills at 13-4. Obviously, I have them in the playoffs for the AFC. I see this team having they have a very tough schedule to lead just in the first 7 weeks of the season. I do think, though, that they will win out some very close and very competitive games, and I think it'll battle test them. And then I think that they're going to have a pretty good win streak following their bye week, all the way leading into, I want to say it's the Christmas time, where I think that they will probably suffer a loss, but I think they're going to end the season very, very well. Josh Allen is probably going to have an MVP type season. In my opinion, this year's MVP is basically going to either be handed to Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, which is kind of how everything's been playing out and just their trajectory of how good that they both are. But Buffalo Bills, though, they have still Stephon Diggs. They have an elite defense. They're only going to get better. I think the only thing is just in question is their running game. It's not very good. If it runs through Josh Allen, it's a little worrisome just because he runs the risk of getting injured, even though he's a bigger quarterback. But their run game is just the only thing I would worry about. If they get that thing situated, they're probably the team to beat in the AFC. And I would say above Kansas City, just because now they're a multi-threat type of a team where they can run on you, they can throw on you, they have a defense to back it up. Their special teams is a little underrated, but they're a solid team from top to bottom, and I don't even know if they've hit their ceiling yet, which is scary to think about. And they're still just adding great talent, and they've got a great culture over there in Buffalo. And so I just see that this team is running away with the East. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is the Super Bowl favorites on most people's list coming out of the AFC.
Yeah, I also have Buffalo Bills at 13-4. Not much to really add on other than, I think they'll lose the game against the Rams, in my opinion. I just think in SoFi Stadium, off of the Super Bowl win, there's going to be a lot of excitement. I'll just, I'll go ahead and say I think the Rams will win that game. Wouldn't be surprised if the Bills pulled it out, but that would just be my prediction. But, they face teams like the Tennessee Titans. Then it's honestly, the toughest stretch, in my opinion, is the at Miami and then at Baltimore. I could easily see them starting like 1-3, possibly. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. I mean, I really think that they could overcome that. They do have to go to Kansas City, which I think is actually more favorable for Buffalo now. But they got to face like Green Bay, who, say what you will, I still think Green Bay is not as great as what they were last year. They see the Jets twice. I'm not very high on the Vikings, like I've said. Browns, Lions. So, they see the Bears and Bengals as well. So I do feel like there's a lot of games that I could see them possibly losing. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of games. That sounds bad. That sounds like I feel like they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think that. I just think there's a few games I could see them maybe losing a few more, but I do feel like in terms as a strong team, the Bills are that team. And I think they really don't have anything to prove other than when they get to the playoffs, which I think they will for sure. Yeah. We don't know exactly how, but the way I see the way I see their schedule, I think it's pretty favorable. In the beginning, it's pretty rough. Like I said, I could possibly see them going 1-3, but after that, they'd get out of that, and I think they would kind of coast until they probably, I would say, maybe the Vikings game, which is in week 10. I could see that possibly being a loss if the Vikings are what everyone else is saying, but I don't believe it. And then maybe the Bengals, I could see them lose too. So, but I like the Bills.
What record do you have them finishing at?
13-4.
Right on. All right. So just to recap. So at number 4, I got New England finishing in 4th place at 5-12. New York Jets finishing in 3rd place at 7-10. Miami Dolphins finishing 10-7 in 2nd place, and Buffalo Bills finishing 13-4 to get 1st place in the AFC East. Drew, recap.
Number 4, I have the New York Jets at 3-14. Number 3, I have New England Patriots at 8-9. I have number 2, Miami Dolphins at 12-5, and number 1, I have the Buffalo Bills at 13-4.